This is Drew Donovan, and you're in the Epicenter.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com, and of course, as you're watching us on YouTube. It's James Walsh joining you this week with our special guest in just a moment from Paragon Pro Wrestling and formerly of WWE NXT. He ran by the name of Chase Donovan in the WWE, but we now know him as Drew Donovan from Paragon Pro Wrestling. Hope you guys enjoy this interview. Funny guy, but I will warn you, if you are a little squeamish on the swear button, I don't bleep anything. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. No post-show this week. We didn't have an opportunity to sit down with Patrick to do it, so we're going to put this up just as it is. Standalone interview, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. We go about 30 minutes with the gentleman. Think you guys will have a lot of fun and enjoy picking the brain of a young superstar who has a lot of bright things in his future. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in a few weeks right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com.
This is Alex Chamberlain, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with us right now is a Paragon Pro Wrestling superstar, the one and only Drew Donovan. Mr. Donovan, are you with us?
I am. How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
It's a great honor to have you on the show, man. I'm a big Paragon Pro Wrestling fan. When you guys made your debut on Pop TV, it was a breath of fresh air, a different style of wrestling that needs to exist. And I really like what you guys do. So anytime I have a chance to have one of you guys on from Paragon, I welcome that opportunity and encourage everybody listening to check you guys out. How have you enjoyed so far your stay in Paragon Pro Wrestling?
Honestly, man, I hate to give you like an over-the-top kind of positive answer because it almost sounds cliche because I do work there currently and whatnot, but like without sounding like too corny or anything like that, it is the most fun that I've ever had working anywhere. And I mean, I've been around 12 years now. I'm not saying I'm like the world's greatest veteran or I'm the most tenured guy or anything like that, but I've had the opportunity to do some cool stuff. And out of all the cool stuff I've had the opportunity to do, Paragon is just by far, it's a blast, man. I mean, I feel like it's like my first year again. I'm just having fun with everything. It's fantastic, man. A great place to work.
It is. It's a fun product for me to watch. And yesterday I was doing some research, and I hope you don't feel like I was stalking you, but I was checking out your Facebook page, and I could tell you're having a lot of fun doing it. The videos you post and comments you post about working at Paragon just seems like you guys really enjoy what you're doing.
Honestly, man, it's about just the whole product as opposed to what you see in a lot of shows these days, and that's what makes it so much fun for, not only myself but everybody involved. Really, it's just I think the production of a show or how a show's put together, be it for a live crowd or for TV, it's almost a lost art because what you get on a lot of indie shows nowadays is you get a lot of guys just match after match. They're going out there and they're just trying to have the best match. They're trying to have the better match than the match behind. And that's cool. I mean, I know some companies even try to like thrive with that as kind of like their motto, and that's, for a niche crowd, that's awesome. But a wrestling show, an event it's a three-ring circus, man. It's got to be a little bit of something for everybody, and it's got to have a flow to it. It's got to be an episode of television. It's got to be something entertaining to sit through and watch. And Paragon just has such a great flow. It's such a great television show with all these characters and just amazing performers, man. It just feels like you're watching a wrestling show on TV that you came up watching that made you like wrestling.
That's a great way of putting it. And the way that it's presented, even down to the announcers, and I'm not sucking up because he helped set up this interview, but Jeff Aiken does a great job. Todd Kennelly, out of this world commentator. And the way they present it, it is an entertaining wrestling product. It's not sports entertainment, it's entertaining professional wrestling, which is one of your mottos, and man, I agree with it. It's certainly one of the things I enjoy watching.
And the thing is, man, like with those two guys, with Jeff, with everybody from commentators to the announce team to the ring announcer. I mean, all of our guys, top to bottom, that come together to put this show on are the best at what they do. Honest to God, otherwise they wouldn't be there. And everybody understands that they're working for the product, not for themselves. So every single one of those guys, every position, on screen, off screen, everybody's working for the product. They're not working for themselves. They're working to make an entertaining show, and they're working to tell a story together, which, again, is a lost art, man.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned a couple of things, and I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, and this goes back to what we talked about. I guarantee you didn't listen in, but if you had, we talked a little bit about Ring of Honor and one of their pay-per-views that they just recently had, and I kind of felt like, you know what, there were some good matches on there, but I kind of forget what they were because they all kind of ran together. That kind of goes to what you were just saying. The Paragon show, you have your peaks and valleys. Instead of it just being high spot matches and the best main event style matches all the way across, you had your you know, to put it in my vernacular from when I grew up with, you have your Orient Express and the Rockers to kick off the show. Then you have your duds or your slow down matches, and then you get back up for the main event. That seems to be what, you know, Paragon tries to accomplish. They have a flow of a show which you can tell which matches are the kickoff matches to get the people going, and which are the matches that are the main event that they sell the tickets on. And I think that's a really a good thing and a lost art in this day and age.
It really is. And the thing with it, too, it's like you talk about that flow and whatnot. And a lot of people, they can recognize it when they're watching it or when you're watching a show like that. I mean, you might know you like something about it, but you're not able to put your finger on the, just the production, it's the show, the flow of the show, rather. It's how everything comes together like that. But it's one of those things where it's such an intricate thing, yet so simple at the same time. It's like you talk about why certain matches happen at certain times and why certain guys are in certain spots. I mean, watch a great Hollywood movie. Why do certain things happen at certain times? What's the ride they're taking you on throughout the course of the movie? And that's what we do, man. I mean, we're pro wrestlers. This, see, people might disagree with me, but this isn't a real sport in the sense that we're not going out, we're not competing with each other to attempt to show who the better guy is. Who's the better worker? Well, the better worker, you shouldn't be able to tell everybody. A good worker can make you think that the guy he's working with is a good worker if he's not a good worker. You know what I mean? It's not right. Who are you trying to show up? Who are you trying to prove that you're better than? It's just, that's not what it's all about, man. It's all about just making this happen. It's making a production. It's making an event.
Absolutely. And I think you guys do a great job. And it's been a great thing for you guys, appearance-wise and accessibility-wise, being on the Fight app, which now Impact Wrestling is on, and a bunch of other places are jumping on the bandwagon on. You guys kind of got the ball rolling with the Fight app.
Honestly, man, that's like the way of the future right now. You can see TV slowly going away, honestly. I mean, that's a bigger topic for a bigger picture, I suppose. But if we were to relate that just to wrestling, it's like you have the WWE app, obviously, the WWE Network. Everything's available online now. YouTube is booming right now. Tons of people are watching wrestling on YouTube, any form of streaming video, really. So the next natural progression is an online network where your product's going to be viewable not just by, a regional audience or even a nationwide audience, but a worldwide audience. So, yeah, I mean, I remember they were talking about partnering up with Fight TV long before it happened. And it was just, it was something we were all really excited about because it's kind of like being on that first wave of something that is going to be big. And within a matter of a couple of years is just going to be how things are done. So to be on that at the ground level, to be able to kind of grow with that, it's awesome. I think, we've obviously only scratched the surface. I can only imagine what it's going to be like in another year, another 2 years, so on and so forth.
Very cool. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned you're a veteran, and I do have to ask you some career questions, so I hope you don't mind going back a little bit prior to Paragon Pro Wrestling. Do you mind?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But I'll tell you this right now, though. I hate the word veteran.
Okay.
I can't stand it. It's thrown around so freely by guys on this, specifically the indies. It's one of those things. It's like if you call yourself a veteran, cut it out. Just cut it out. Just don't do that. It's one of those things. It's just an overused word. Not faulting you for it. Just saying.
I agree with you.
Get myself something to eat.
You know what also bothers me too? The word legend as well is thrown around a lot these days. I was watching with my kids. I just told you before I called you up. We had on Nickelodeon, and Rob Gronkowski was on there. And he said he's an NFL superstar and a football legend. And I thought, you're still playing. You're not a legend yet. When you retire, you'll
give him a chance to stop. Yeah, exactly. That makes sense,
Yeah, you probably will be. I mean, as much as I'm not a Patriots fan, no fan. I think you might be from Boston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's all good. I follow the fake stuff.
There you go. All right. So you have had your opportunities with the WWE. You were Chase Donovan in the WWE, and you were part of NXT long before the WWE Network, long before it is what NXT has become. I guess my question is, how did you enjoy the experience of working under the WWE banner, first of all?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a goal for pretty much everybody that gets into the business, really. So it's one of those things where, I set a goal for myself, and it was basically when I started, it was just, no matter what. So that was my whole thing the entire time. No matter what happens, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to give up. This is my goal. And at that time, my goal was WWE. So it was one of those things where I never really doubted that it would happen at any point, because I was just, all right, what do I have to do? This. Cool. Job 1 done. Job 2 done. Move here, train there, done. Get bigger, done. Get better in the ring, done. Got a better promo, done. I can do all these things. It might take me a while, but I can do all these things that get me to the point where I will make it to my goal, and I did. So there's no secret formula to getting there. Like, honestly, it is one of those crazy things that you actually get asked a lot when people find out that you were there for even a short amount of time. There's no secret formula. It's just, how about, like anything else, find out who currently over there hires you for your job. Ask them what you need to show them to get a job, and then show them what they want to see to get a job. If it's a better promo, if it's a different look, if it's whatever. I mean, ask what they want to see and then show them, and then get your job. So that's what I did. And, it didn't last as long as I would have liked it to, obviously, so I just ended up getting cut. And but the time there was fantastic, man. How can you not learn in that environment? I mean, you've got Ricky Steamboat, Norman Smiley, Steve Kern. Like, these are the guys that were our coaches day in and day out. I mean, it's no matter how long you're there, how long you're not there, if you say you went there and you didn't learn anything, you're full of shit.
Wow. What did happen? Because you were not there long, but you seem to have you mentioned that the things that they're looking for, and you mentioned that you have the look. I mean, you did get bigger. You are a good promo. Why did you not end up being one of the guys that stay longer? And you were part of the guys that got cut, if I'm not mistaken, around the same time that guys like EC3, who you just look at and you go, what the hell didn't they see in him?
Yeah, it was, I didn't expect it at the time at all, to be honest. It was one of those things where I was very, like I am wherever I work, I'm very proactive to make sure that the people in charge are getting what they want to get out of me. I mean, this is a business. I'm a product. And when I'm hired for a certain reason, I have to make sure that I'm fulfilling that obligation. This isn't my line. This is an old Stone Cold interview from years ago, and it was one of the most brilliant things I've heard in my life as far as just getting it. It's, I'm a gear in a machine. They put the gear where it needs to be. They're going to use that gear up. That gear comes out. Another gear goes on. I want to make sure that I'm the gear that they need in the place that they need it, and make sure I'm doing my job so I can get paid. So that being said, I would always check with the right people. You guys seeing what you need to see? What else can I do better? What else can I do? Like, does the look cool? Do I need to grow out my hair? Do I need to lose more of my hair? Whatever the hell, whatever it is. So I was always in a place where I felt fairly reassured that I had a good standing spot there. And at the end of the day, I didn't. And I mean, I can't pinpoint an incident or anything like that. I mean, it definitely wasn't an attitude issue or anything like that, and it rarely ever is with anybody. It was just a situation where I can take ownership of it, as I didn't stand out at the time enough. I might have been a good worker, might have been a good promo, but just being good at a bunch of stuff doesn't necessarily make you something that's worth investing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in to push you on the main roster. Right. So that was my own fault. So that's why I kind of took a little bit of time off after I got released and basically learned that, or figured out that I was going to do my best over the next couple of years to make myself undeniable and to make myself the type of person that wouldn't fall through the cracks anymore.
Right.
And, I always enjoyed training. I always enjoyed bodybuilding and everything like that. So I figured, that would make sense to be a niche for me, and started thinking about the guys I looked up to growing up, your Ultimate Warriors, your Hogans, Rock, Austin. I was never, no disrespect to the cruiserweight stuff's phenomenal. Like the Cruiserweight Classic, these guys, holy, yeah, some of these guys are phenomenal, man. Like Sorensen, 450, like, god damn, like these guys are unbelievable. And it's just, and I'm not even talking about like just athleticism as far as the flips. I'm talking about the entire style, just these guys as workers.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
It wasn't my shit growing up. It really wasn't. Like I wasn't the Dean Malenko guy. Like I wasn't the WCW Eddie Guerrero guy. I was Rock, Austin, Hogan, Macho Man. I was, big, larger than life characters. That was my flavor. Everybody's got their own flavor. That's what I liked.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one.
That's, to me, that's what worked. That's what drew me in. Like, having a realistic sense to your work looking real is crucial. It's key.
Mm.
But everything about you doesn't have to scream, I'm the fake UFC. If the people want fake UFC, they would just go watch real UFC.
Right.
Like, why do we have to be the fake version of the real thing? And that's not to say all cruiserweights are like that, or X Division, or whatever division, or whatever you want to call that style of wrestling right now. It's not to say it's all like that, but I like stuff that's larger than life. I wanted to be a character. I was huge on presentation, Undertaker. Like, these are the guys that made me want to be a pro wrestler. So what can I do to be a character? And it just, it's been about 2 years of that coming together, and it's, nothing happens overnight, and I'm finally getting to a place where I'm like, all right, well, what I'm doing now is, it adds up a little bit more with what I used to like as a kid growing up and what I grew up on.
Absolutely, and I think that's obvious when you watch you on Paragon now that you've grown, and you've adapted more of that style, and I think that definitely shines through.
It's much more comfortable, and it's one of those things where it's like, and again, it's like if I say anything that sounds disrespectful to a common way of thinking in pro wrestling, I apologize. That's not my intent. So it's just like, actually, I don't apologize because it's not my intent. So it's more accurate, I suppose. But, like, honestly, when I grew up, I didn't give a shit about arm bars. I didn't care if Dean Malenko was the man of 1,000 holds. All due respect to Dean Malenko, I could care less if he used 7 holds. That's not what I cared about. Like, I want larger-than-life cartoon characters turned into human beings, gigantic, beating the living shit out of each other, throwing each other off the top rope and over the top rope and onto the mat, and doing crazy moves and clotheslining the shit out of each other.
Right.
Like, I want larger than life. That's the wrestling that I wanted. That's the wrestling that made me want to be a wrestler.
Right.
So why is it that when I became a wrestler, I was a wrestler? I was a grappling artist. I was concerned with how many different types of arm bars I can do and how many counters to the cravat I could come up with. Like, why would I be able to make anybody give a shit about that when I didn't give a shit about that? So just, how about I just gain 30 pounds, yell like a maniac, and clothesline the living piss out of you until the entire front row is just completely white as a ghost. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, give me that any day of the week.
There was an event, and I use it a lot as a reference. WrestleMania 18, Hogan and Rock. Now, there was other matches on the show that were technical masterpieces. That match wasn't a technical masterpiece, but guess what? It's the match everybody remembers. And it's because they worked that larger than life style. And Hogan's always going to be Hogan, and The Rock's always going to be The Rock. And they were huger than life, and that's why that match is still remembered. Even if we're not supposed to remember Hogan, we remember that match.
And we always will. And because these guys were characters. They were people that they were captivating as personalities. It wasn't because of necessarily the moves they were doing. And it's not to say the moves weren't there. It's not, Rock could, God damn, work his ass off, but he was The Rock, and it was the personality. If you watch Paragon, you can see the guys with this exposure of having TV, having the production team. Jared Gainham, who runs the production team, I will say to anybody that will ever listen to me, is the most brilliant mind in wrestling that's up and coming right now.
What was the name?
Nobody. Jared Gainham, who runs the production for Paragon. Anybody will tell you. Anybody that works for Paragon or has worked for Paragon will tell you he's one of the smartest wrestling minds that you'll ever speak to. What he gives the guys as a platform with his production is he understands what will make guys look good. He understands how to accentuate their strengths. He understands how to hide their weaknesses. And he understands, most importantly, to just let them be themselves and let that shine through. Right. And then the entire team that we have there from, Len Denton Grappler's there every now and then. G3 is there all the time. Eric, he's phenomenal as far as being a mind to help you come up with, like, the perfect spots for your matches and what to do and the flow of the show, everything like that, too. Of course, D'Lo, like, the guys behind the scenes are, like, they're all on the same wavelength. So that's what gives these guys this platform to showcase themselves and to showcase themselves as personalities. You look at, like Wes Briscoe, who might be one of the best baby faces on the independents right now. Right. Or on television or on the Fight TV app, if you want to rate it that way. Same goes for Sorensen, who I put over before. I'll put him over twice.
Right. I'm going to ask you about him coming up because you've had some burners with him. But yeah, I'll keep.
Yeah. We kick the shit out of each other a lot. I can swear on this, right? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry.
All right. I just realized I've been cursing the entire time anyway.
That's fine.
I mean, look at like Rude Boy Riley right now, who's starting to really gain a lot of momentum. He's on TV a lot now. Lots of segments that seem to be building them up a lot. It's just, and look how he connects with the crowd, though. Look at the personality. Anthony Green, like the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I was actually going to say one thing that I've loved was the Darren Corbin storyline, where he was homeless. It almost at some point felt like the old WCW Cactus Jack storyline, where he was homeless and they were looking for him on the streets. It felt like a little bit, but you know what? That's become one of the more compelling stories on the show.
And then what a talent, man! Holy shit! Like just look at when as all that's going on while he's doing his thing, just watch the people. Like, they're literally captivated. You have a crowd of Nevada local wrestling fans that see the same promotion every single month. And they're literally, it's like they're watching like the latest episode of Breaking Bad or whatever's popular. You know what I mean? They're so focused on what he's doing because he's so good at just conveying that story and, like, controlling the emotion,
Yeah. Yeah, he's done great with that. I mean, that's been a real highlight of the programs over the past several months. You mentioned something that caught my interest. I'm going to go back to some highlights in just a sec, but you mentioned being in the same location. And one of my favorite things to watch growing up was always the Dallas territory, and that's because they always ran the Sportatorium. It was classic. All those fans were so familiar with things. But then you fast forward about 15, 20 years, and you have the Impact Zone. And unfortunately, you have fans that just almost expect things to the point of sitting on their hands. Where does Paragon fall in that? Do you guys feel like you have the impassioned fans that love the Von Erichs down in Dallas, that love you guys? Or do you think that there's a degree of those fans that are so familiar with you guys that they just sit on their hands instead of getting excited about the product?
If you tell a story the right way, you can pique anybody's attention. So it's one of those things where, some places you go, you're going to have fans that no matter what you do, they're going to come unglued for everything because they're just that excited, And sometimes you're going to have crowds that are just going to be harder to, build momentum with. But at the end of the day, if you know how to tell a story, and you can tell an interesting story, and you can tell a good story, you can get anybody's attention, you can pique anybody's interest. So, that's honestly, so we have great fans at Sam's Town. It's great going to Vegas every month. I love it. We have some of the most crazy, rabid regular fans that I've ever seen personally working anywhere. But all due respect to them and their, loyalty as fans and, what a good crowd they can be, I think a lot of it's the guys, I think a lot of it's the guys knowing how to tell a story and working together again to make that, make that event happen.
Absolutely. After you left the WWE, you were kind of sucked into one of their many dramas, which was, if you Google your name, unfortunately, it's one of the top things that comes up.
That's crazy, right? Like, it's got, there's all these weird title ones. Yeah, that was... That was unexpected.
Well, in particular, I more meant the incident with Bill DeMott. Your name, unfortunately, when you Google your name, comes up almost at the top of the list with just a Facebook post you put out on there. And you mentioned in that Facebook post, I'm going to kind of call you out on it. You mentioned that people were not saying things or saying things specifically because they want to go back there. I guess my question would be, do you want to go back there, and do you think being as outspoken as you are, because you're outspoken, you're a company guy, I could tell that without fail, but you are a little outspoken. Do you think that helps or hinders you if you did decide you ever wanted to give the WWE another try?
At the end of the day, man, if WWE wants you, they want you. You know what I mean? If you can show somebody something that will make them money, and they agree that will make them money, then that will hopefully be the case to move forward. Is that to say that there might be an issue because of anything that I've said? I don't think that there's really any burned bridges to speak of. My name comes up a lot of those things because I made like a Facebook comment.
Right.
Basically, it was something along the lines. A bunch of people said something. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
Yeah.
And yet it shows up on a Google search. So go figure why Google pulls up certain things. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, as far as I remember it, somebody was like, it was one of those things where somebody put a bunch of stuff, a bunch of Bill stories up, and everybody online was arguing about it or whatnot. So I just put on my Facebook, I'm like, oh yeah, all that happened. And it did. So, screw it. I mean, it happened. And he resigned shortly thereafter. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to, I didn't mean that when I said, no. Like, I'm pretty sure everything that I heard that they said happened. And it's not like I was confirming the story that he, like, kidnapped 12 people and kept them in a shack in his backyard, shot paintballs at it naked for 12 hours every night. Like, it's like, that's not by any means what anybody said what happened, but, just certain things about the style of training or injuries that occurred to certain people at certain times and stuff like that. I mean, and as far as my recollection goes, somebody was like, oh yeah, that happened. And I was like, yeah, it sure as hell did, whatever. I mean, I was never a guy to go and complain or anything like that. Like, I got pulled into a couple random podcasts right after the fact where it's just, people, like I had one, like a week or two after I got released, my old tag team partner calls me and goes, oh, I got us on a so-and-so's podcast. They wants to talk about developmental. I'm like, he wants to talk about developmental? Oh, yeah, that's it. And then I pick up my phone and the podcast host is like, hey, what's up, man? Now, can you confirm that Bill DeMott was, like, beating the shit out of children in the back with a ruler with fucking nails hammered through it, dipped in acid while he committed sexual assault on a panda? Like, I'm like, no, what? It's just, I mean, people try to pull all this crazy shit out of everywhere. It's like, look,
and I'll tell you, from this side of things, and you probably don't get a chance to hear too much from this side of things, that's the hardest part about then getting people to agree to do your show, is that they don't know what the hell you're going to say. And I try to explain to some people when I ask them, I say, I want you to know right off the bat, I'm not Howard Stern. I'm not going to ask you, I'm not going to try to throw a baloney ring around an anal ring or whatever he did with the Iron Sheik. That's not my goal. I'm just going to ask you questions about your career. It'll be okay. But it's the hardest part, and I had to go through a therapy session with Lita before she agreed to do the show, because I was like, she's afraid what I'm going to ask. And I'm like, I'm not interested in that. Don't worry. But
yes, it's like some people, like right off the bat, it's just like it's all right. Well, I guess that's where we're going with this now. But I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, with all that, I've always been very cautious not to directly say anything that would be, and that's not even like me trying to cover my ass or anything like that. That's just saying be smart. Like don't make things up or completely bury somebody. Don't burn a bridge. Business. Don't burn bridges.
Right.
But, it's one of those things, like, my name got caught up in a bunch of stuff, which, I mean, Google will tell you it has,
right.
But, like, Google will tell you lots of shit. Like, type in, like, Triple H weird zoo fetish, and something weird will pop up. I mean,
I'm sure, and then there's probably an image to go along with it, too.
Yeah, that's a good way. You Google Triple H weird zoo fetish and see what pops up. I haven't tried it, but it's probably something neat.
So, all right, man. Well, like I said, Fight TV is the place where you can catch Paragon Pro Wrestling right now. And I'm going to ask you again to compare yourself with some other companies. You tagged in I hate to say squash match, but I guess it was a squash match with Michael Bennett, who's now one of the big stars at TNA Impact Wrestling. Considering the history where you were essentially the ECW on TNN to the WWE's WWE Raw to TNA Impact's on Pop TV. When I say you, I mean Paragon Pro Wrestling. You were kind of the guinea pig to see if wrestling would draw, and it did. What is your thoughts on how Impact Wrestling is operating right now, in especially comparison to how you guys are operating?
From what I understand over there, and I'll take a second because you touched on Bennett, phenomenal talent, obviously. Like I don't need to tell anybody that, but and he's a guy. I've known him since I started. Great dude. On top of that, like him and Maria are good people and awesome. Like it's good to see him on a legitimately national stage, which I think is long overdue. And as far as how TNA is doing, like I think that's fantastic. It's one of those things where it's competition's great. Like I would love it if we are on opposing channels right now and we were kicking the shit out of them going head to head, and who wouldn't obviously, but at the same token you want them to do good. It's like if you beat a nobody, who would you really beat? So I want them to do good because that's good for wrestling. Because then more people will want to watch wrestling. They'll look for more wrestling to watch. Then they'll find us. Maybe they find out, hey, we can download some TNA stuff on the Fight TV app. They download the Fight TV app. What's Paragon? This looks like $1 million. Like this looks like it's WWE production. Let's check this out. Right. All of a sudden we have new fans because of that. Then we're put in a better spot to maybe go head to head with them. Honest to God, I think we have a better product. That shouldn't piss anybody off because they should all think that they have a better product and we should all think we have a better product. If we didn't think that, we shouldn't be doing this, not at the level we're trying to do it.
I agree. And I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts here, a couple more questions, and I'll let you go because I've had you on for a while. One of my favorite tag teams to watch, and they're good dudes too, I know them a little bit on Facebook, just talk to them here and there, is the Whirlwind Gentlemen. Thoughts of working alongside those guys who seem to be real good company guys?
Oh, fantastic. It's so easy. It's a breath of fresh air to get to, as a heel, work with a babyface that knows how to be a babyface, knows how to sell, knows where to be and how to set themselves up and how to move themselves around. And on top of that, that can gain sympathy like that. I mean, when you have babyfaces that know how to sell and know how to fire up and can move their fucking asses off the boot, it's just with that type of combination, it's the coolest thing that you can get in front of a live crowd because they can have them eating out of the palm of their hands. Like it gets to the point where those guys get such sympathy that the crowd is so desperate to see them do anything. As soon as a little bit of fire comes up, the crowd's they're roaring. So it's fantastic. I think they're awesome, incredibly underrated talent. I am ashamed to say that before I went out there, I'm an East Coast guy. I'm ashamed to say that before I went out there, I had never heard of them before, even though they had been down to Florida before. I'm shocked that they haven't been everywhere. That's how good they are.
They are. They absolutely are. I agree with you. And you talked about it, probably one of your biggest rivals in Paragon and across a lot of different places, it seems, would be Jesse Sorensen. Definitely a checkered past. Hell of a story with him coming back from his neck injury and everything. How is it to be working with Jesse Sorensen?
It's great, but I've been knocked out by that fucking elbow 14 times now.
Wow.
Stiffest goddamn finish in the business. Holy shit. I thought he didn't like me the first time.
Wow. Is that what you're telling the truth? It's a stiff finish?
It can't be anything but the finish. God damn. Jesse's awesome. I've told him 1,000 times before. It's if he doesn't make millions of dollars in pro wrestling, then it's not his fault. Then somebody else fucked up if he doesn't become a millionaire off of this. Definitely my favorite guy to work with, my absolute favorite person to work with, and I'll put him over a little bit more because he's fucking, nobody's gonna tell him about this fucking podcast. He won't do it. He fucking, fuck him. He's not gonna listen. But it's, no, he's fucking phenomenal, dude. It's a travesty that he hasn't fucking already broken through the next level or whatnot, but hopefully Paragon's kind of the place where he can do that. Hopefully, we continue to thrive the way we are, and he continue to grow within us as a company.
Right.
So it gets to a point where, Paragon can provide him that stage to finally kind of put it out there, like, here's my story, here's what happened, here's where I am, here's what I can do,
Absolutely. And I'll wrap up with this kind of thought. Dallas is one of my favorite territories. I loved it because it was in one location. You guys have that because you're in the Sam's Arena, at the Sam's Casino, all the time. That's your home base. You mentioned the grappler, Len Denton, obviously a legend from the Portland territory. There certainly is an element of the Portland territory in the way you guys present your product. It's just a great wrestling show. And for anybody listening to this that doesn't already check out the shows, and I make it a point to do so, please do check out Paragon Pro Wrestling. It's a great wrestling product, and I hope everybody does check this out. Any lasting comments you want to leave us with before I let you off the phone?
Honestly, man, it's like, I'm going to be the Paragon show guy tonight, but it's just, if you haven't checked it out on Fight TV, I mean, first of all, it's fucking free. Don't be stuck up. Download the goddamn app and watch it at least. But regardless, if you haven't seen it, download the app. Check out the show. Just watch as many as you can. There's a bunch of them on there. I mean, you got legends like Gangrel on there. You have these guys like, Whirlwind Gentlemen who we're talking about, Sorensen, Briscoe, Anthony Green. These guys, Riley, like, these guys are phenomenal, man. It's just, Royce Isaacs, Christian Cole. I can't put these guys over enough. Best locker room I've ever worked in, and it's a hell of a show. I mean, you get to see some guys that are going to be household names.
Alex Chamberlain is another one.
Not too long. Chamberlain, oh my God, he's going to be fucking devastated I didn't put him over. Oh, shit.
He's awesome, man. It doesn't hurt having Lisa Marie around when she does work. I mean, that's not certainly nothing. It's a nice thing to have on your product as well. A nice asset to your company.
Yeah, but you don't realize now I'm gonna have to send out a fruit basket because I forgot to tell everybody he's awesome. He is awesome, but who doesn't love a fruit basket?
He was on our show about 2 months ago, and man, he's an awesome guy, a really easygoing, awesome guy, but an awesome talent. And damn, I mean, he's got money written on him. So I agree with you.
Did he put me over on your show?
He did not put you over on the show.
Oh, fuck him. Who's he ever beaten?
There you go.
All right, we're even now.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Amy Dumont, and you're in the Epicenter.